Hi everyone, I am Chad. Probably like a lot of you, I've been upset for a few days now. Before I get into more detail, the most important part of this video is now. Harvard has lost their spine and I am here to help them find it, and I need your help. Later in this video, I will share a letter with you that I am sending to Harvard and potentially its major donors, but I'm just one person. So if you're also outraged by this, if you're also sickened by this, then write your name in the comments as a signature for this letter so that we can let Harvard know how important this issue is. So like most of you in the last few days, I heard about this actual piece of garbage, this actual piece of trash written by a professor at Harvard University, J. Mark Ramsire. I've read enough to know what's going to be in the full piece when it comes out, and I can already tell you, as you already know, it's going to be absolutely and 100% pure garbage, pure trash. So if you don't know, Mark Ramsire, professor of Harvard University, has essentially written that comfort women or sexual slaves were not coerced, they were not forced, but they were voluntary prostitutes, that they were volunteering for this service. And it's such absolute garbage that I really don't want to get into what he wrote. There's so much historical evidence, there's so much fact, there's all these testimonies from women in Korea and in other countries who have testified that they were forced to be sexual slaves under the hands of the Japanese army. And this is an issue that does need to be shared internationally. And so to be doing the opposite, to be spreading lies about this, it's really shameful and it's disgraceful and it's embarrassing. Anyone who can look at the facts of what happened to the sexual slaves of Japan and they can look at them in an unbiased way knows exactly what happened. There was no choice involved. This wasn't voluntary prostitution on a mass scale by women all across Asia. It's such utter garbage that it really, really disappoints me and just makes me upset. And by the way, this Harvard professor is not unbiased, as I'm sure you well know by now. He got his job at Harvard through Mitsubishi, a company that maybe has some interest in the story of sexual slaves not getting out because, as you guys probably know, they've been charged to pay victims of sexual slavery, and they've had plenty of things that they've admitted to. So having a Harvard professor who got his job through Mitsubishi, of course it's going to be very biased, and it really comes off as if this professor is trying to maybe pay back a favor to Mitsubishi. Ramsire has written articles like this before, and on top of that, he's written articles that are officially on Harvard's websites. This article in particular is from March 2019. It's posted on Harvard's official law website. As you can guess, it's trash like the rest of the stuff that he's written about sexual slavery, and Harvard has done nothing about it. I'm not the type of person who likes to insult people. I don't like to say bad things about people. I'm generally trying to be a positive and uplifting person. I'm not perfect, but that's what I'm aiming for. But I'm gonna say now that J. Mark Ramsire is an idiot. He's decided to insult, lie about, and further harm innocent women who have already suffered more harm than probably any of us can imagine. Now, if he doesn't actually believe this, and if he's doing this for his own personal gain, for his own benefit, then that's even worse. There's not really much more to say about this guy, but his work on this is totally useless. It benefits nobody. So on to Harvard. As Harvard is one of the most famous academic institutions in the world, they cannot claim ignorance and they cannot claim idiocy. Mark Ramsire might have the excuse that he's just an idiot, but Harvard cannot have that same excuse. Harvard's employee, now more than one time and on official Harvard documentation, has lied about what happened to the victims of sexual slavery. At the very least, he is minimizing all these atrocities and these war crimes that these women faced under the hands of Japan. And Harvard has done absolutely nothing about it. It is time for them to disavow this professor, to distance themselves from him in the biggest way possible so that people don't associate Harvard with these lies being told. It is so damaging for somebody in a position such as a Harvard professor to justify and try to explain away rape and war crimes. And Harvard, if they don't say anything about this, if they don't do anything about this, they're giving authority to this idea. So I've written out a letter that I will both email and physically mail to Harvard University. If Harvard decides not to take action, if Harvard does not comment on this, then I think the best course of action is to mail this letter and information about sexual slaves, comfort women, onto their sponsors and see what the sponsors have to think about being associated with a university who is not willing to even comment on something so damaging that one of their professors is saying in an official capacity. So I'd invite anybody watching this video, leave your name and the date in the comments as a signature so that Harvard can see how many people care about this issue. If you want to leave comments, I welcome that as well. If they're in Korean, I will translate them and send them along with your signature along to Harvard University. I'd ask you guys to share this with your family and friends. Get them to sign this too. Leave these comments. We need as many people as possible to really get Harvard's attention because they've said nothing on it so far. I want to make sure that Harvard understands how damaging this professor has been with his words and his actions. And that's why I think it's so important that we get as many signatures, as many names here as possible so that Harvard really understands what's going on. So I do ask the comments that you leave that they are respectful as possible. I think that we can do this in a way that's like firm and strong, but also being respectful and using language that's appropriate for this. So I'm going to read the letter now. The full letter and its translation to Korean will be in the description. To Harvard University, we ask you to disavow and condemn the upcoming publication by one of your professors, J. Mark Ramseyer, and remove his work disparaging sexual slaves from any Harvard publications and websites. We also would like to inquire as why Harvard employs a professor who distorts truth and denies historical facts, insulting all victims of sexual crimes. This is not a debate. This is not a difference of opinions. It is fact accepted by every legitimate historical organization. At the hands of Japan, thousands and thousands of women suffered violent rape and other horrendous war crimes. It is fact, and your decision to ignore Professor Ramseyer's deliberate and shocking denial of truth is spitting upon the thousands who have suffered. By supporting disproven and completely false statements, you are complicit in reopening a wound inflicted years ago. That wound cannot heal, while those who deny that it ever took place are given pedestals such as the one you have given Professor Ramseyer. Your silence is loud in its support for all the wrong things. It is support for sexism, victim shaming, rape, and war crimes. In the year 2021, how is it possible there is a platform at the most famous learning institution on earth for someone who shouts lies that further hurt those among us who should have been the most protected? Disavowing Professor Ramseyer's lies will not fix the awful that was done, but it can bring peace, healing, and support for the women put in sexual slavery and for their families. We ask you not to do this to uphold the reputation of Harvard, but because it is the right thing to do. On the Harvard shield and logo, there is written a single word: Veritas, Latin for truth. These women had everything taken from them. We can give nothing else to them except for the truth. We respectfully ask Harvard to honor the word it decided was most important above all else: Veritas, truth. These women had everything taken from them. Give them back their truth. Signed, Chad Tanner, and the added signatures below. Thank you for watching this video. I again ask you to leave your name in the comments as a signature and a message to Harvard that we will not allow damaging lies like this to be spread.